The Fantastic Four: The First Steps is directed by Matt Shakman and stars Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, among others. And this is now the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now it's the officially the third attempt of the Fantastic Four films, and technically the fourth attempt if you count the 1994 unreleased movie. And in this story, it deals with the Fantastic Four having to protect the Earth from the intergalactic cosmic being known as Galactus. And after the Silver Surfer comes and announces that the Galactus is coming, pretty much have to. It's a race against time in order to protect it, to save the world from Galactus. Now, here's some backstory. Now, growing up, I'll admit that I myself have never really been much of a Fantastic Four fan. Even when I was a kid and I saw like bits and pieces of the animated series and even stuff like from the '60s animated series and their appearance from seeing them on like Spider-Man and stuff like that. I just never really got into the Fantastic Four because I feel like they just weren't really always my cup of tea when it came to superheroes, because I was always more of a Spider-Man fan, and even to an X-Men and all that. And Fantastic Four was just one of those characters that I just never really bothered with. I just thought they were kind of boring growing up, and I never really got into their powers that much. And so when the first big budgeted live action film came out in 2005, I didn't really get to see it in theaters, but I did play the video game of it, and I eventually watched it on home video. And from what I remember, and even rewatching it to this day, I don't mind the 2005 one that much. It's got its issues, but I still think that it was definitely a fun popcorn film, and it still is a fun type of movie that was trying to get the best of what it could work to do to get the series going and stuff, and it feels like that they were still trying to learn as they go when it came to the actual characters and stuff. And they from what I heard, they did stray away a lot from the comics, but they still nailed it a lot with, especially the stuff with Thing, Johnny, and all that. And there's definitely some things they could have really done a lot better with as far as the writing and all that. But I still to this day get a kick out of it, and it's still funny to me. Now, I still haven't seen Rise of the Silver Surfer or that awful 2015 one, so I can't really comment on those. I've seen bits and pieces of Rise of the Silver Surfer, but I can't really make a full judgment because I haven't fully watched the film. From what I've watched of it, there's pieces of it that are there that I do like, but then there's other stuff I'm like, yeah, that's not really working out too well. So I can't really comment on either films, but from what I've seen also the 2015 reboot that came out, I watched about 40 minutes of that, and I pretty much tuned out because I thought it was too fucking boring. And so, even to this day, I feel like, it seems like every 10 years when we get a new reboot of the Fantastic Four, it's like, okay, are they ever going to get this series right? And so, since the rights pretty much went back to Marvel after the 2015 movie ended up flopping and everything, it only made me kind of wonder, like, okay, was the property pretty much best in the hands of Disney with the MCU at this point? Because with the MCU pretty much continuing and having to make more attempts of trying to bring the characters more from the comics and stuff. When the word got around that they were making the Fantastic Four officially into the universe, I was interested, but at the same time, I was kind of just like not really caring too much. I was like, okay, well, that's cool that they're going with the whole like '60s vibe and stuff, but I'll see it when I see it. And so I didn't mind the trailers when they came out, but I just wasn't really overly hyped for it because I was still kind of like, okay, are they just doing some of the same stuff again? And so my expectations were just very kind of but after upon seeing it, I can say that this was 2 for 2 for Marvel. I feel like after the Thunderbolts, it shows that it looks like they were very good back on track, making great movies again. Because as much as I didn't really care for Captain America: Brave New World, I really loved Thunderbolts, and with this one, this was definitely a home run for me to where they finally were able to make a great Fantastic Four film. There's might be some things that I still kind of liked in the 2005 version, but even I can admit that movie is still flawed, but it's still fun. But this is a truly great one for me that works in all levels, and it seems like they worked with the best with actually getting the source material to a lot more closer to the comics from what I heard, and doing a lot of good things to make it a very cinematic experience. Getting the characters right has always been a struggle, and I feel like I feel like this one really did a great job with it. And so to get my pros out of the way, I thought the cast lists were all fantastic. Pedro Pascal, I really enjoyed as Reed. I think he really brings the whole smarts to his character, but also the whole family dynamic with him and Sue, I think really works. And the chemistry between him and Vanessa Kirby is very strong. And their romance and the way that they're trying to raise the family and stuff, especially with Franklin, their son, having to come in the picture and everything, it makes a great big deal of how they all care for each other. And the same thing goes for Sue and Johnny and Thing all having to work together and stuff. Their camaraderie and everything is blended so well, and Johnny and the camaraderie between Johnny and Storm, or Johnny and Thing, is just really funny to watch, especially with some of the jokes they make with each other. Because there's even like a little callback they have where Johnny has like a little figurine of Johnny of himself, and Thing just ends up smashing it for him. It reminds me of that scene in the 2005 version where Johnny had a figurine of Thing, and he did the same thing in that one. So I thought that was a nice little callback. But so they all did great. But the biggest one for me the most, that's the two biggest ones that stand out for me the best, is definitely Julia Garner, who plays the Silver Surfer in this. I thought she really did a great job with capturing her, and I really enjoy her backstory in this. They give her in this, and from what I heard was that she is a really big deal in the comics with this version of Silver Surfer, and so I thought she did fantastic. And it was kind of really hard to really recognize her because of all the CGI they use over and everything. But I thought she did a great job, and then I also really enjoyed Ralph Ineson as Galactus. Not only was his voice very booming, but his presence is definitely intimidating too. And I've always liked that guy as an actor, and it's great to see him do other stuff like this. And you know, his presence, especially when you first see him, is really intimidating and really scary at times. And when you get to the final climax with it, it was definitely had me on the edge and where the movie was going and stuff. And I really got a kick out of how, you know, it comes across as like he's trying to come up with the plan, like, hey, you know, you do this certain thing for me and I won't eat your world and everything. And because the Fantastic Four won't, it's like, well, it's going to become now where you pretty much have to suffer for it. And you know, with what they, and it just keeps going and going, because once we get to the actual payoff that it takes place, I thought it really worked to its advantage. And it also comes into the theme of the family having to it comes with the Fantastic Four really having to stick to their guns and stuff, because everything that they do, every action they have is essential to what happens. To get into some of my other pros, I really loved I actually really enjoyed the CGI in this. Not only did I love the effects they used for Galactus, but I do really enjoy how they made the Thing look in this one, and it does definitely resemble like the comics from what I heard. But I also appreciate how they give him like little things too, like they actually give him a beard and stuff. I thought was a nice touch. And while I do still prefer the practical effects they did for Thing in the 2005 version to make him a lot more bulkier and stuff, I still appreciate they went to the more like kind of more the authentic level of making it more like the comics in this. But I like them both for their own ways, you know what I mean? And I think that both actors did a tremendous job. And even though I still prefer Michael Chiklis as Thing, I still thought Eben did a great job playing as Thing, and really worked with the character very well. And so the other biggest thing is it's great it has a great theme song in this that really captures the vibe of the family and everything, and the epic ways of trying to save the city and all that. And I also really got to appreciate the movie's aesthetic of trying to go for the 60s retro style, where it kind of gives me some like Jetsons vibes, where it's, even though it's set in the 60s, it has that retro kind of future look to it that I really enjoy. And it was also kind of giving me some vibes of like Back to the Future Part 2 in some ways, because there's like little gizmos that Johnny's using throughout like in the movie in one point, and I was like, oh, that's something that they probably would have had in Back to the Future Part 2, but in a good way. And so there's more I can go into detail, but I mean, the movie does feel like it's really more about the themes of the family coming together and stuff. And so while there might not be like a whole lot of action, it is all about the ways that they're having to work together to save the city. And they actually do still do some stuff in the beginning where they're having to save people and everything and all that. But it's just all about the family struggle is what really kept me going with the plot in this. And there is also something really big that happens in the mid-credits that's getting something to set up in the future that I'm definitely looking forward to. And so I have really little to no flaws in the movie. If I had like any kind of minor small things, is that they could have maybe established more action that they could have with the Fantastic Four, maybe, you know, from stuff in between and all that. But I get what the movie was trying to focus just on them trying to come up with a plan to save the city from Galactus and stuff. With that being said, I don't really have little to no flaws in the movie. Like, the movie is everything that I really want to see out of the Fantastic Four, and while not every joke does kind of land in certain parts, it still works to its advantage, and it was still kept me, and it still had me smiling throughout, and it really had a really good emotional stakes with how, you know, the lengths that everyone has to go through in this to really to try to save the world and stuff. And so, with that being said, this is going to be on one of my favorites of the year, and with that, I'm going to give it a phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. And so, for those of you who have also seen the Fantastic Four, The First Steps, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And as a bonus, I also did get the little cup at the theater and it came with a little top on it as well, where I know you can probably see there, but that's got Sue Storm on the top of it. So there, I was like, well, I might as well get it, you know, because I figured the movie was going to be great, so I might as well just get a cup of it. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.